This is the Wrestling Old Head. You have entered the portal of pro wrestling.
What the world is watching.
WWE's 16th annual Money and the Bank is going down June 7th from the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California. Busy weekend for the WWE, on top of just kind of been hitting the ground running ever since WrestleMania. WrestleMania was about a week or two later than normal, and this Money in the Bank is going to be about a month earlier than normal. Their schedule just all over the place this year, doing a lot of things different, switching up some things. One of the things that they're doing entirely different is their first annual, I don't know if this is their inaugural, I don't know if they're going to be doing more after this, but they are doing a Worlds Collide PLE available exclusively on their YouTube channel about 3 or so hours before Money in the Bank. It is Worlds Collide. It is a joint venture between WWE and NXT and AAA. In this event, I don't want to go through a whole predictions video for Worlds Collide. I think it's just going to be a great opportunity for fans to be introduced, for those that have not been introduced, to be introduced to Lucha Libre wrestling as a whole. AAA or AAA, they do things different than CMLL. I grew up with CMLL being on Galavision growing up in Los Angeles, and they did a lot of six-man tag matches. Seems to me that AAA, even though they do six-man tag matches, this seems to be they're going for the traditional six-man tags at this event, and it's going to be interesting. They're bringing in Pagano, Psycho Clown, Octagon Jr., Laredo Kid, and Aerostar. Aerostar and Laredo Kid being on TNA occasionally. They've done a few shows there. So it's going to be an interesting event. I know one of the biggest matches on that card is the main event, which is going to be Chad Gable against El Hijo de Vikingo. Vikingo is going to win that one, of course, but I can imagine there's going to be some nefarious activity going on. There's going to be an overbooking of sorts. I'm fascinated by this event. The last Win Worlds Collide I watched, aside from Forbidden Door for AEW, was the event that they did for the WCW Lucha Libre joint venture in the 90s. So hopefully they keep that same tone. They don't have a hair versus mask match, or a mask versus mask match, or even a steel cage match. But I'm still hoping that they keep that same kind of energy. And I really hope that Conan is a part of this. Conan is one of those guys where I was shocked he wasn't a part of the WWE during their WCW acquisition and their subsequent invasion thereafter. Conan has spoken extensively about it, so it's not a mystery now, but at the time I was always shocked that we never got Conan in the WWE, especially considering he has ties with Ron Killings, formerly R-Truth, who just got let go, or his contract wasn't renewed, and BG James, aka the Road Dogg. I was surprised that he wasn't involved there. The way that he interacted with the crowd, and even the way that he worked matches, and even his body, the way that he looked, it just seemed to fit the WWE. And he was a part of the WWE in the early 90s and whatnot. I'm sure you've seen Max Moon, or you've even heard about it, I'm sure, if you're even familiar with Conan. So I'm just looking forward to him being a part of this event, and looking forward to eventually, or hopefully, seeing him a part of the WWE in some sort. He's a legend, very controversial figure, but I'm a big fan of Conan, and it'll be nice to see him on WWE TV after, like 30 years or whatever, so it's going to be cool. As far as the Money in the Bank itself, as of now, I see 4 matches. Don't know if they're going to add the 5th, but the Money in the Bank matches usually take up a large portion of the event, probably about between 25, 35 minutes. So I can see it just being 4 matches, but I have no idea if they're going to add something on SmackDown or not. So as I'm recording this, it is Wednesday. I don't I mean, if anything happens, I might throw something on my post on YouTube. But as of now, we got these 4 matches, and I'm about to break them down like a shotgun. And again, I apologize if my voice sounds crazy. I am battling with allergies, and they are winning. I am jobbing out to allergies this season. They are brutal, and I'm trying my best. So let's get into it. Lyra Valkyria battles Becky Lynch. This is a last chance match for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship. If Lynch loses, she can no longer challenge for the title as long as Valkyria is champion. If Valkyria loses, she will be forced to raise Lynch's hand and acknowledge Lynch as her tribal chief. You see what I did there? I like the way that they're building this up. I think this is doing Lyra a lot of good. It is establishing her as a formidable champion and also someone that can be a force to be reckoned with in the women's division. So I really love this. It is a honorable passing of the torch for Becky Lynch. I respect what she's doing here. She, as she was leaving, it seemed to be hinting towards her being a role model for Lyra, and now as she's coming back, she's helping her by giving her and establishing her with wins and giving her a chance to get more comfortable on the mic. And I like what Lyra's doing. I don't think that she has your normal charisma, but she is establishing herself in a way that she can handle the volatility of the crowd, some deep cuts from her opponent, and I think Becky Lynch has been a great dance partner for her. So as far as this match goes, Lyra has, I believe, 2 wins. If you include her NXT win over Becky currently, I would see Becky coming out victorious here and Lyra having to acknowledge Becky in that fashion. I think that continues the feud. The one thing about this, however, is Bayley being kind of the question. Like, she's just kind of hanging around. We haven't seen her. The last we had seen of her, she was attacked. Turned out it was Becky Lynch that attacked her. So because of that, I feel like she's going to be involved in some manner. Now, whether or not she comes out afterwards or we see her on Raw on Monday the following, I'm curious to see her involvement. But I still, even with Bayley being up, kind of out, that could be involved at any time, I am still predicting that Becky will beat Lyra for the title, and Lyra holds her arm up in victory. I think Becky attacks her afterwards as well, and I think that's where we go. In the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, Stephanie Vaquer, Naomi, Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Julia, and Roxanne Perez. This is probably one of the most stacked women's Money in the Banks that I've seen in a long time. I hear a lot of people going for Naomi to walk away victorious, and I'm going to tell you something. I like it because I like the idea of her briefcase having caution tape. I like the idea of her saying proceed with caution to any of the champions. But she's currently involved in a feud with Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. And none of them have a championship. And I think that involving Naomi in the Money in the Bank is going to tie her. It's going to take her out of that element. If Jade Cargill or Bianca had the women's world championship, then I can totally see her walking away with the briefcase, because in that regard, it would make sense. If they give Naomi the Money in the Bank briefcase and then later give Bianca or Jade Cargill a shot at the championship, it kind of telegraphs the result. And with Tiffany Stratton being the SmackDown Women's Champion and Io Sky being the Raw Women's Champion, looking at who else is in the Money in the Bank, My choice is Rhea Ripley. And the reason why I'm going with Rhea Ripley is because I adore Stephanie Vaquer. I think she's going to be a huge star, and the same with Roxanne Perez. However, Roxanne Perez, having the Money in the Bank, breaks her away from the story with Liv Morgan. It gives her a bargaining chip to come in with the briefcase while Liv and Raquel have the tag titles, but it still doesn't. It's still too many tie-ins here. I think they keep it simple. Rhea has the money in the mommy. She's the mommy in the bank. She has the briefcase. She starts confronting Tiffany Stratton, and she starts confronting Io Sky. And I think that gives her an opportunity to be on both brands, and I think it gives her an opportunity to weigh out her options and see if she wants to go at Io Sky, who she's never beaten, or go after Tiffany Stratton and go for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So I think there's way more story to be had there with Rhea as the champion and as the briefcase holder. And I understand the argument. I really do understand the argument of Rhea just being a walking Money in the Bank, and she doesn't need the briefcase to get opportunities at championship gold. However, the marketing aspects of it and the ability for her to be tied up with Io Sky and then be curious about Tiffany Stratton is just too big to ignore. The way that the WWE has been currently, I just can't see them ignoring that. And because of that, I think we're going to see Rhea Ripley win this Money in the Bank. For the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, Solo Sikoa, LA Knight, Penta, Zero, Miedo, Seth Rollins, and I'm sure his Rollins band is going to be lurking around, Andrade, and El Grande Americano. El Grande Americano is going to be doing double duty here. Because he's working the Worlds Collide event as Chad Gable. And I think that's going to be interesting, especially this is going to be a tale of match placement. In my opinion, if the Money in the Bank men's opens the event, then it's a strong possibility that Seth Rollins walks away the winner here. The only other person that I see being a viable winner is LA Knight in LA. They're in Inglewood, which is basically LA County. And LA Knight has been, I think this is his third Money in the Bank. So it'll be 3 times the charm. Paul Levesque came out and said he doesn't like the Money in the Bank briefcase. I don't know if he was talking about the men's or the women's or both. I just see if Seth Rollins wins, he's going to probably cash in the main event. And I don't want to get ahead of that, but I think that some sort of an alliance between Rollins band and John Cena would be at play there. If LA Knight won, then you would wonder if he was going to cash in on Jey Uso or if he was going to go after John Cena. And if he went after John Cena, I just don't see him beating John Cena in a cash-in, so he would fail his cash-in. Cashing in on John Cena or waiting until the new year could be intriguing, but there's a risk of a failed cash-in is my point. And then you got to wonder if they're going to go the heel turn route with LA Knight. There's not much else for him to do. He's kind of swimming amongst the Damian Priests, the Shinsuke Nakamura's, and the Solo Sikoas. And he's not going anywhere. It's his match to lose. I think there is more intrigue in Seth Rollins winning because you have his Rollins band, you have Paul Heyman. They're trying to save professional wrestling while John Cena is trying to destroy professional wrestling. And then Sami Zayn is coming out and saying Seth Rollins' version of saving professional wrestling is basically destroying professional wrestling. So there is this tie-in, this thread here with John Cena and Seth Rollins that I'm interested in. And if Seth has the briefcase, and John Cena has the world champion, and Seth Rollins then sets his eyes on Jey Uso, then you've got some intensity here. You got some tension that I like. This is the hardest match to predict on this event. And like I said, it really comes down to match placement. Because if this is the main event, then LA Knight wins to send the crowd home happy. If this is the opener, then I really can see Seth Rollins winning. So Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso more than likely should main event against John Cena and Logan Paul. I mean, that's a main event matchup if I've ever heard of one. I'm going with Seth Rollins to win here. And I believe CM Punk gets involved. I believe Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed thwart that attack. I think Seth wins there and then tries to cash in later in the main event. And I believe that's when you see Roman Reigns come out. With Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, CM Punk, and Cody Rhodes standing tall somehow to end the show, with Seth Rollins, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, and John Cena on the outside. Yeah, that's how I see it. So I'm fantasy cooking a little bit, but that's how I see it. And now, speaking of that tag team main event, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso go against John Cena and Logan Paul. You really want to give Cody Rhodes momentum here. The last we saw of Cody, he had a humiliating loss to John Cena at WrestleMania, where he was booked to look like a complete idiot. I think Jey could also use a win, given that he has a world title defense against Gunther to look forward to on the Raw and Money in the Bank. And I don't see a reason to give the heels a win here, since Jay's business with Logan Paul has no reason to continue past this show. And the last thing Cody needs is another loss to Cena. So I'm predicting that Cody and Jey defy the attempts at all kinds of just, overbooking and nonsense. And I think there is going to be a cash in after Jey wins, and I think Seth is going to look at John Cena on the ground, and then he's going to look at Jey Uso on the ground as Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker are attacking Cody Rhodes. And I think it is quite possible that Seth looks like he's going to cash in on John Cena and decides to try and cash in on Jey Uso before Roman Reigns comes out to save the day. And this is your big build up to SummerSlam here. And you've got all your main players involved. So I'm going to go with Cody and Jey here. And I think that is the intrigue of Seth possibly cashing in on Raw as well when Jey Uso meets Gunther. I just don't see LA Knight being in that cash-in type of a scenario with Gunther and Jey Uso, and even being involved with John Cena currently. And now if it happens, I'm all for it, and I think they'd find an interesting way of tying it all in. However, I just don't see it working. I think it's a far more intriguing story to have Seth Rollins with the briefcase, especially considering his character and what he's trying to do with his mission and the reason why he's bringing this group together. So for that, I'm going with Seth Rollins, and I'm going with Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. So that's it. That's your Money in the Bank. I spoke briefly about Worlds Collide. I believe the end game with Worlds Collide and Vikingo winning the Mega Championship is that we will eventually get a mask versus hair match, or even a mask versus mask match, because I do believe Rey Mysterio Jr. is going to be involved at Worlds Collide. And keep your eyes out for Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio to be involved at Worlds Collide and also play a part in the women's Money in the Bank with Roxanne as well. So I forgot to mention those little details. I just thought I'd throw those in there at the end. But what do you guys think? Who do you think is going to come out victorious at Money in the Bank? Thumbs up on the way out, you guys. I'd love to know who you think is going to win. I'd love to know what you thought of my predictions. Thank you again for listening and keeping me going. You guys keep me going, man. I appreciate all your help. I appreciate you guys and for everything that you do. So thanks again. I couldn't do this without you guys. And look forward to having my opinions on Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank in this busy weekend coming up. And as always, you guys, it's the Wrestling Old Head. Stay tuned for more.